Hey, how's everybody going? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my 2023 NFL Playoffs Super Wildcard Round or Super Wildcard Weekend. This is going to be a long video as to the fact that we have 6 games to talk about on this wildcard weekend. So I'm not going to give any thoughts on what happened in week number 18 as well as the initial Black Monday of coaches being fired and all that, because that's its own segment, and the fact that, like I said, this is going to be a long video because there's 6 games we have to talk about in this first round of the NFL playoffs. So I'm actually just going to get straight to my picks now. I don't want to give my... I wish I had more time to give my initial thoughts of who do I believe, who might be the dark horse in each conference, or who do I think is going in strong in the NFL playoffs, or who might be a team that could be one and done, and all that. So, obviously, I wish I had more time to talk about this, but like I said, it's 6 games we need to talk about, and I'm trying to get this video done as quick as possible. So... For this portion of the video here, I'm going to go by conference. So the AFC will be first. I'll talk about the 3 games in the AFC, and then after that, I will talk about the 3 games in the NFC. So let's do the AFC first. All right, AFC wildcard game: the Cleveland Browns, the number 5 seed, versus the Houston Texans, the number 4 seed. Now, Cleveland rested most of its starters in week number 18. Joe Flacco didn't play. But C.J. Stroud and the Texans were in a win and in scenario, so he had to play. He went 20 of 26, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions in a barely squeaky victory, very squeak-by victory against the Colts. Not only did they win a playoff berth, but they wrapped up the NFC South as the Jaguars ended up gagging against the Titans. When I look at this football game here, a couple things that come to mind. Can C.J. Stroud break through this Cleveland Browns defense, a defense that has been pretty good all season? And this is C.J. Stroud's first playoff game ever for a rookie that's obviously going to win Rookie of the Year for sure. And given the fact that Houston got in by really sure of luck. But they are playing excellent football. C.J. Stroud has really got the offense going here, and he's definitely going to have to find a way to really break through that Browns defense. The Browns are a 2.5-point favorite in this game. And it would not surprise me one bit if this game goes to 2 points, maybe 1.5 going by kickoff. This is actually one of the tougher games to pick because this is the first game up on the. It's actually the first playoff game to start Super Wildcard Weekend. I have to look at a couple things. Can C.J. Stroud break through that defense that the Browns have? Remember, the Browns did not. The Browns may have rested a bit of their starters and all that. And let's see what Joe Flacco can do now that it's the postseason. And does he have that playoff mojo he had when he won the Super Bowl in 2012 when he was with the Ravens? A lot of it's going to come down to who doesn't turn the ball over, who probably will control the clock, time of possession, and which, like I said, a lot of it's going to come down to turnovers in this game. I'm going to pick the Browns here. I think the defense will get to C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud hasn't really played a tough defense all season. And I think this might be where it might come all to an end. Joe Flacco's got more playoff experience than C.J. Stroud does. The Browns defense is playing lights out, and you never know what the Texans are going to do. I would give the Texans a slight chance in this game. I could see this game being very close, but I think the Browns are more likely going to win this game. I think the Browns will beat the Texans here. It's going to be a very close game. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns at -2.5 on this one. All right, AFC wildcard game: the 6 seed Miami Dolphins versus the 3 seed Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Patrick Mahomes didn't play in week number 18 because they've already wrapped up the AFC West before week 18. But Tua and the Miami Dolphins and their starters did play. It was basically to determine the AFC East. The Dolphins losing pretty badly last week to the Bills. They only lost by a touchdown, but in all honesty, the injury list has completely grown for the Dolphins. Tua was 17 of 27, 173 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. There's a lot of questions in this football going into this game, especially especially with the Dolphins having to travel on the road and in a hostile environment, and in the fact that it is cold. It's going to be cold in Kansas City on that game. Right now, unless anybody beats the Kansas City Chiefs here, going into the postseason, the Chiefs are definitely still the team to beat until somebody knocks them out. And in all honesty, I just don't see it happening with this Dolphin team. The Dolphins are too banged up right now. They got a ton of injuries to deal with, and there's just no way, no how that it's gonna be too much for the Dolphins to overcome in this game. I just don't see the Dolphins winning this football game. The Chiefs are clearly the better team in this one here. The Chiefs are a 4-point favorite in this one here. I absolutely agree with that. The Dolphins are going to have too much to overcome. The Dolphins really are just, they've got too many injuries to deal with. Even if Tyreek Hill plays in this game, he's still not 100%. And given the fact that they lost a couple more players during the game against the Bills, it's going to be tough to overcome against the Kansas City Chiefs here. And that is why I am picking the Chiefs here. Even though the Chiefs going into the playoffs right now, they're not playing that well either, despite the fact that they played in the AFC West, which was horrible all season, other than the Denver Broncos making it interesting. But you got to wonder now with this Kansas City Chiefs now going forward. Look, I think the Chiefs will beat the Dolphins here. I'm picking the Chiefs in this one here. But for them to get any more farther in the postseason is a big question mark for this Chiefs team. The Chiefs will get by the Dolphins. The chances of it being a close game wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs pull away in the fourth quarter. The Dolphins will try to make it interesting, but I think the Chiefs are going to be too much for the Dolphins to handle. I like the Chiefs in here, -4, Chiefs over the Dolphins. And the other AFC wildcard game, number 3, it is the 7-seed Pittsburgh Steelers versus the 2-seed Buffalo Bills. The Bills open up as a 10-point favorite in this one here. I think that number will go down much further. I don't think it's going to stay at 10. I think it wouldn't surprise me if this goes down to maybe 9.5, 9, maybe 8, maybe even 8.5. Now, the Steelers, they did play, they had to go with Rudolph. He went 18 of 20, 152 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions in a game against the Ravens that basically the Ravens rested their starters. They didn't really play all that much in that game, and the Steelers were playing to get in, and they had a lot of help because the Jaguars lost. So that put both the Steelers and the Bills in the postseason. And not only that, the Bills beating the Dolphins, they ended up winning the AFC East. Josh Allen was 30 of 38, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he was also picked up twice against the Dolphins. Pittsburgh's defense is going to be a big question mark now. Losing TJ Watt, he's not playing in this game. It's a big blow to the Steelers' defense, especially given the fact that they've done a fantastic job stopping the run. But in all honesty, without TJ Watt, basically the heart and soul of that Pittsburgh defense here, and if the Bills run the ball effectively in here, I like the Buffalo Bills in this game. But I could see this game being much closer than anticipated because Josh Allen still scares me for a couple things because of the fact he's still doing too much. I know Josh Allen is being himself and he's being the playmaker that he is. But last year the turnovers really killed him. And it really killed him against the Bengals in the divisional round last year, and it didn't help him all one bit because he really turned the ball over. The Bills didn't recover against the Bengals and all that, and that's what I still have a lot of fears for this going into this postseason for the Bills. The Bills are coming in red hot. They're probably the hottest football team in the AFC going into the postseason. And personally, if I had to pick a dark horse, the Bills are the dark horse in the conference. It wouldn't surprise me if they become the team to beat in the AFC besides the Chiefs. In all honesty here, I look at this football game. Look, there's no way the Steelers can overcome losing TJ Watt, losing the heart and soul of that defense here. He needs to be there in order to stop the run. And I like the Bills in this one here. It might be a close game, but I think the Bills will pull it away in the fourth quarter. The Bills are a 10-point favorite. I'm going to pick the Bills in this one here. The Bills over the Steelers. Alrighty now, let's move on to the NFC. Alright, NFC wildcard game. The 7-seed Packers versus the 2-seeded Cowboys. The Cowboys open up as a 7.5-point favorite in this one here. I wouldn't be shocked if this goes to 7 or maybe 6.5 because there's some question marks for this Cowboys team. Now, The Cowboys did, Prescott did play in week number 18. He went 31 of 36, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, Jordan Love and the Packers, Jordan Love had to play because they were fighting to get into the postseason, beating the Bears. He went 27 of 32, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. This is going to come down to a couple things here. The weakness of the Cowboys' defense is against the run. The Bills dominated them on the run, and so did the Dolphins. And the big question mark, as well as the Lions. Now, the big question mark here for the... I'm doing a take 2 on the... I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, I had to edit out the video for a little bit here. Obviously, I had my cat in the room with me, and obviously, I don't know what happened to him, but... Anyways. Talking about the game against... talking about the Packers and the Cowboys here. Now, as I said, the Cowboys opened up as a 7.5-point favorite. Now, going into this football game, the Cowboys have to find a way to stop the run. Now, the Cowboys have been good at home. That's been their only good spot in this this season for them, is that they've been an excellent home team. They haven't lost a home game yet all season. But I think this football game, the Cowboys should not take the Packers for granted, because if the Packers have Jones back, if Jones comes back in this football game, remember, Jones was hurt for a while, and if he comes back healthy, it's going to be a factor here. Because if the Packers run the ball effectively, this game will be much closer than anticipated. And I can see that, I can see it being very, very close. But in all honesty here, that Cowboy defense, I think, is definitely going to get to Jordan Love in this one here. Even though Gilmore might not play in this game, obviously he got hurt in the Week 18 game against the Commanders. But I think, to me, if Michael Parsons gets to Jordan Love, it's going to be a long game for Jordan Love here. I'm picking the Cowboys at -7.5. I think they'll beat the Packers here. It's going to be a tight football game. It's going to be much closer than anticipated. But the Cowboys have the better defense here. I think they will definitely get to Jordan Love, and they will definitely beat the Packers here. It's going to be a close game. I can see this game being very, very close. I'm picking the Cowboys over the Packers. NFC wildcard game, the 6-seeded Rams versus the 3-seeded Lions. Or as many are already calling it, the Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff Bowl. For the first time, this is the first time that Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit, but as now the quarterback of the Rams. As all of you already know that Matthew Stafford spent a lot of years with the Lions, and you got to wonder now going into this game how the feelings will be and how Detroit will handle him coming back. Now, the Rams didn't play their starters because they already clinched the playoff berth, but they were able to beat the 49ers to hold on to the number 6 seed. Now, the Lions had the division wrapped up, and I'm literally scratching my head. Obviously, they gambled to try to get the number 2 seed, but I knew it was not going to be possible because Cowboys wanted the home field for the first 2 games of the playoffs. They were in a much better position, and they beat the Lions a couple of weeks ago. And to make matters worse, Laporta got hurt in the finale against the Vikings, and now he's a big question mark going into this football game if he's going to play. Because when we saw that injury, it looked pretty bad, but Coach Dan Campbell says it wasn't as bad as people thought it was. He better hope that Laporta did not really. We fear that it might have been an ACL or something like that, because Laporta has been basically the heart and soul of catching the football in the passing game. And it's going to be a huge question mark going into this game now. What other weapons does Jared Goff have for the Lions? Now the Rams are coming in a little bit banged up, but not as bad as the Lions are. I look at this football game here. A lot of it's going to come down to who doesn't turn the ball over and who controls the clock and who's able to make the big plays in this game. This is going to be a very close game in Detroit. But when it comes down to it, I just think the Rams are going to come into Ford Field and upset the Lions. I'm picking the Rams this one at +3. I think Matthew Stafford definitely wants to win this football game here, and it would not surprise me if the Rams go into Detroit and they upset them. Because after all the years he spent in a Lions uniform, you got, and obviously he would love nothing more than escape Detroit with a playoff win. I think the Lions could be in for a heartbreaking moment here, obviously because they haven't been in the postseason for a long time, and they haven't had a home playoff game since 1994. But I just think that I think it's going to be a little bit of a heartbreaking moment for the Lions here. I think the Rams are going to squeak a victory against the Lions here. I'm picking the Rams at +3 here, Rams over the Lions. And finally, the last NFC wildcard game. It is the 5-seed Eagles versus the 4-seed Buccaneers. Now, Jalen Hurts didn't play all that much in the finale against the Giants. Obviously, he's coming in banged up. Brown is coming in banged, is also hurt. So there is some huge question marks going forward with this Eagles team that basically had fallen apart the second half of the season. They were once 10-1, and they flat out just completely collapsed, losing the division to the Cowboys, and basically gave up the number 1 seed to the 49ers. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all hope is lost. Look, for some reason, the odd makers have the Eagles as a 3-point favorite. But that number is probably going to be lower, for sure. But the thing is, the Buccaneers are not even coming in that hot either. They struggled their last few games. They barely won their own division. They won on a 9-0 football game against the Panthers last week when they really should have been blowing them out. Because the Panthers were a horrible team all season. They're a mess, and I'm literally just scratching my head the way I'm like, the Buccaneers, how they only beat the Panthers 9-0. That tells you right now, the Buccaneers are not coming in as a strong favorite in the playoffs here. They are definitely a team that probably has a bigger chance of being one and done as much as maybe the other teams here, maybe the Packers, maybe the Lions. Baker Mayfield was 20 of 32, 137 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. As I said, it was all field goals in that game. And that's not going to get it done. The Eagles, even though despite the troubles that they have, for some reason, I think just for this football game, they're going to flip the switch. They know that they're in the postseason, and they know they've had enough. They've had enough of all the things that are going around. Obviously, maybe it's true. Maybe they do flip the switch on in the playoffs. The Eagles know they can win. Obviously, I know that there's a lot of issues going on on the coaching side. But I just don't think the Buccaneers are that strong of a football team. And it don't matter if the Cowboys or Eagles would have won. Who would have won the East? They would have ended up as the 5 seed regardless. Because the NFC South was much worse. And nobody seemed like anybody wanted to win that division. I look at this football game, it comes to boil the point. Who makes the big plays in this one here? I think the Eagles will escape Tampa Bay with a win. They know how to win. And it wouldn't surprise me if they flip the switch on in this football game. The Buccaneers are not coming in hot. I just think they have a lot of problems going on offensively. Defense-wise, they're barely average. They really have given up a lot of yardage to other opponents in the last few weeks. Nearly 600 yards of offense in 2 games, and that is just not going to get it done. I'm going to pick the Eagles in this one here. I think they'll beat the Buccaneers in this one here. The Eagles will barely beat them. I'm picking the Eagles over the Buccaneers. All right, everybody, that's it. Sorry I had to edit this video, obviously, because I have my cat here. So don't be surprised if this video gets edited a bit. Anyways, that is all of 6 wildcard games for this upcoming weekend. Talk to you guys next week when I make my picks for the NFL Divisional Round. The NFL Playoffs Divisional Round. Until then, take care and enjoy this NFL playoff weekend.